So I want to now ask you, how did you get into drawing professionally?
Well, I've always been interested in drawing comics. Working creatively, I think more maybe than drawing comics specifically. I knew from a young age I didn't want to do like an office job or work in a factory. I wanted to do something creative, and so I was, when I was in high school, I really wanted to focus more on like film. I wanted to be like a film director, and so I was studying movies and making my own movies and things like that. But one day, one of my teachers, my English teacher, he caught me sketching in class, and looked at the sketch and said to me, he said, "Hey, you should think about becoming a comic book artist."
Teachers inspiring.
Yeah. So his name was Mr. Rubinski. He was a big comic fan, and he brought me a whole bunch of comics to read and kind of got me into it when I was, 14 years old, maybe, 14, 15, something there. And so, from that point on, I really started to focus on, drawing my art. And then it was years later, I ended up meeting David Finch. David Finch lives 30 minutes away from where I live. So I ended up sending my stuff to him, and he agreed that he would, give me some lessons and show me, kind of teach me, I guess, like a boot camp almost, or like an apprenticeship. So I started going over to his place, and he would give me like some little homework assignments, like come back tomorrow and fill up this page full of heads from every angle, and come back tomorrow and draw a city, and I'll critique it. And kind of went like that for a while, and then after about 6 months, he said, "Hey, I think we can see if you can get some work." And so we sent my portfolio into DC, and I got hired. And so, since then it's just been steady work for the last 6 years. It's going on 7 years now. But, and each book I did was a little incremental step in getting better work, more steady work, that kind of thing. So that's kind of how it started. With each artist, it's always a different journey. There's some artists, they take their stuff to a comic convention and they show their work to somebody, and that gets them a job. With me, it was about the person I knew.
You got lucky.
I just so happened to meet him and have him take the time to teach me something. It took a lot of time out of his day to give me some pointers, and so I'll always be forever grateful to David for the time that he took to teach me. He's got a desire to teach people comics. It's one of his. He's a great teacher. He's a great artist, and he's a great teacher. And it's just like I said, I'm forever grateful that he was willing to do that.
That was great of him. So is that your advice that you'd give to anyone who's interested in getting into drawing comics to show at cons?
Yeah, that's a good way of getting critiques. Like, if you're really serious about getting into comics, create a portfolio, and don't just draw a bunch of covers. Draw interior pages, draw storytelling. Like you would like the pages you would get in a comic book, because that's what you're going to be paid to do. Is you got to be able to draw a comic book, tell a story through visual. Do some of that. Go to a con, take it to every artist you can. Take a little notepad, and whatever critiques they tell you, you write them down, and then you go home and you work on those things specifically. You create another bunch of pages, and you create some more pages, and you just keep doing that, and there's no guarantee you're going to make it. Like this industry is a very cutthroat industry. They only want the best, and the way you have to look at it is, if I'm not good enough to be the best artist on this book, then you're probably not going to make it. You're every other artist in the industry is your competition, and so if you want to make it, you got to be better than Jim Lee. You got to be better than whoever's drawing whatever book. I mean, if you follow that as a rule of thumb, it'll push you to become a better artist, and to really try and work on your weaknesses and get stronger and stronger. And I mean, when you get a job in comics, you're not going to be as good as Jim Lee. He's got 40 years on you, drawing comics, 30 years, I don't know. But you know, propelling yourself to try and hit those, you know, become that good is something that's going to help you eventually, you know, get work in the industry. You're going to have to fight your way through the industry to try and get to DC and work for DC, and, you know, you work on the characters you like to do.
I mean, what you're saying just sounds like good general life lessons applicable to anything almost.
It's true. There's no real secret to necessarily to drawing comics or anything like that. It's like, you know, the things I worked on when I first started in the industry was just try to get your fundamentals down. Try to build a strong foundation. You know, the way I like to tell people is, you know, when you build a house, you know, you got to make sure your foundation is set first before you start putting up the walls and the details and all this kind of stuff, or else your house is going to fall over. And it's the same thing with art or working or being a firefighter or whatever. You have to learn your fundamentals, and you have to be really good at them. So artistically, you have to know how to draw heads and proportion and body and anatomy and cars and buildings and animals and all these kinds of things. You have to know how to draw those things, you know, as best as you can before you can put them all together in a comic book. But everybody seems to want to just draw the comic book. They don't want to spend the time working on, you know, working for 2 or 3 months just drawing heads. That's what I did. And drawing hands and feet and arms and bodies. Like, I didn't, you know, that's all I did for months and months and months and months. That's all my every waking moment of the day was just doing those things. But because I did that, I just got that much better, that much quicker, so that when I went to draw an actual page with storytelling, I brought everything together, and, you know, I had a good product. And my first portfolio I ever sent out, I got a job at DC Comics, so it paid, all that time paid off. Yeah, like you said, it's, building a good foundation is the #1 thing I think you have to do. And a lot of people don't. They want the shortcut, I think. They don't want to. It took me like 5 years to even get a job. How many people are you willing, if your dream is that strong, are you willing to work 5 years, you know, working on whatever it is before you can get a job, you know? And it may never happen for you. That's the tough thing. But I think you also have to be, being an artist, I also knew that if it didn't work out in comics, I could maybe work in illustration or advertising or graphic design, or my brother works in video games. So there's all kinds of different ways that you could go.
There's a lot of like actual.
So I guess art runs in your family.
Yeah. My brother is a 3D modeler for Ubisoft up in Toronto. Does designs the 3D characters for the different video games. Yeah.
Okay, well, it seems like we have a bit of a line behind me, so